Lessons learned living with a chronic disease. What I wish I knew when I was younger. Living with a chronic disease can be a challenging experience. When you have a chronic disease, your life is often filled with things that you wish you could change. There is so much stigma around chronic diseases and the way we feel about ourselves. Here are some ways to live with a chronic condition without feeling like it's all-consuming. Lessons learned living with a chronic disease. What I wish I knew when I was younger. Living with a chronic disease can be tough. Living with a chronic disease can be tough. It's easy to get discouraged and feel like there is nothing you can do. But it's important to remember that these are the times when you need to rely on your friends and family. There are so many ways to cope with the challenges of living with a chronic disease. But one way is by surrounding yourself with people that care about you. Lessons learned living with a chronic disease. What I wish I knew when I was younger. How living with a chronic disease changed my relationship with myself. When I was younger, living with a chronic disease didn't really affect me too much. I thought that it was all just a phase and my body would eventually get better. Once my health started to decline, it became more difficult to keep these thoughts in the back of my head and, ultimately, more difficult not to let it consume me. I learned that living with a chronic condition is something we have to accept and live with until the day we die. Asking for help is important. When you're living with a chronic condition, it's easy to feel scared and weak. Sometimes people might not take your illness seriously or even see it as legitimate. This can make you feel isolated and alone. You don't want anyone else to experience what you are going through, but that isn't always possible. It's important to seek help when you need it and remember that there are people out there who care about you and want the best for you. Even if they don't know exactly how they can help, ask them anyway, because asking for help is an important step in coping with any mental health condition or chronic disease. Understanding the impact of stigma on chronic illness. Stigma is one of the most difficult aspects of a chronic illness to deal with. When people are constantly judging you, it becomes harder to be confident in yourself and your body. The more you try to hide your condition, the less confidence you have. The importance of self-care. When you have a chronic disease, one of the most important things you can do is focus on self-care. This means that when you're physically feeling well and mentally ready to take care of yourself, you should do so. If you feel like you need a break from your responsibilities, take it. Don't let life get in the way of your health. Lessons learned living with a chronic disease. What I wish I knew when I was younger. How to live life without regret. There is so much stigma around chronic diseases and the way you feel about yourself. The first thing that comes to mind for many people is regret. But life can be hard, and there's no guarantee that things will work out the way you want them to. Still, it's important to remind yourself that your life is going to be different than what you've seen before. You may have a disease that's no longer curable or an illness that might not respond well to treatment, but this doesn't mean your life is over. As a person living with a chronic condition, it's important to make the most of each day and enjoy the simple things in life while fighting through the tough times. Take time for yourself, even if it's just taking 15 minutes to sit in a chair and read and try new things outside of your comfort zone. Lessons learned from those who have lived longer than me. If you feel like your chronic condition is consuming every part of your life and you haven't figured out a way to live with it, there are ways to make living with a chronic condition easier. The first piece of advice is from someone who has lived a lot longer than me, which I found really comforting. This person said that the best thing for them was to focus on the small things in their life that made them happy. Sometimes this person would focus on things related to their health, and other times they would focus on things that helped them feel good about themselves, such as relationships or hobbies. They didn't always have time to do everything they wanted, but they were able to find moments throughout their day that made them smile or laugh. You might not be able to do everything you want, but if you can find the small moments of happiness, then you'll be able to get through your day with ease. What if I had cancer? The honest truth. You might think that cancer is the kind of thing you would know if you had it. After all, this illness has a reputation for being aggressive and sneaky. You hear stories about people who are in perfect health one day, then diagnosed with cancer the next, or even the same day. That's why when someone tells you they have cancer, your response is often, "Holy crap, how did you catch that so fast?" But what if that person was you? What if you didn't catch it as fast as everyone thinks? What if, in fact, it had been lurking inside of you for some time before making its presence known? How would you cope with that knowledge? Do you think your answers would be any different now than they were a few minutes ago? If not, why not? Knowing you have cancer would be scary. This is a scary thought for anyone. It's not a matter of if, but when. You can't say for sure that you'll ever be diagnosed, but you also can't say for sure that you won't. Why, then, would you want to live knowing that you have cancer? Well, aside from the fact that you probably don't know that you do, Cancer doesn't have to be the death sentence that it's often made out to be. Depending on where it's located, what type of cancer it is, and your health overall, it might be completely treatable. Even if it's not, you don't have to let the diagnosis consume you. You can still live a full and happy life, even knowing that you have cancer. Finding out you have cancer would be even scarier. This is understandably a terrifying thought. Finding out that you have cancer would likely put you in a state of shock and leave you feeling helpless and hopeless. You might even have a hard time accepting that you have it. While it might seem strange, some people refuse to believe they have cancer. They might argue with their doctor and refuse treatment, even if it's the best option for them because they're so convinced they don't actually have cancer. This denial can cause the cancer to progress more quickly and make it harder to treat. But there is hope. You can overcome the shock and fear. There are plenty of people who have been through what you're going through, and they've managed to get through it. You can, too. You might feel alone, but you're not. There will be plenty of people who want to surround you with love and support, and there should be. But sometimes, even people who care about you the most won't be able to provide the kind of support you need. It's important to remember that you're not alone in your diagnosis. You just might feel that way. Feeling alone is a common symptom of cancer, and it can affect every person who has it to some extent. Whether it's your friends, family, or healthcare team, there will be people who want to help you through this difficult time. You might not always be able to see them, but they're there. You just have to let them in. It's important to remember your worth. Cancer is scary, and it can make you feel like you're not as strong as you used to be. It can make you feel like you're not as capable as you used to be. It can cause you to doubt yourself in ways you never thought possible. This is understandable. Cancer is a scary disease that can be incredibly difficult to deal with. But you need to remember that you're more than what this illness says about you. If someone tells you that you have cancer, you're probably going to feel like you're less important than you were before they told you. You might start to doubt your skills and capabilities, and that's understandable. You're going through something big and scary, and it's normal to feel less than yourself. But you can't let yourself forget who you really are. You're still you, even with cancer. Cancer is a mental game. Knowing it's there changes everything. Cancer isn't something you can see or hear. It isn't some external force that can be easily identified and defeated. It's a disease that lives inside your body, feeding off your cells and slowly killing them. It's not until it's fully grown and is large enough to be seen that it becomes a serious threat. It's something you can't fight or defeat, at least not on your own. The difference between knowing you have cancer and not knowing is, the fight begins the moment you find out.